And I believe you have a guest coming up on the line.
Absolutely. We're very pleased to have joining us a very a loyal supporter of our efforts here on Sons of the American Legion Radio, and that is Lieutenant General Guy Swan, who is the Vice President of the Association of the US Army, former Commanding General of the US Fifth Army, and a West Point graduate, great leader, and veteran. General Swan, how are you today?
Doing great, Ken. Good to be with you guys.
Always good I appreciate when you take time to join us. And next week you have your big annual meeting and exposition for the Association of the U.S. Army. I've had the pleasure of attending a couple of times, and it's amazing how big an event it is. You had in the Washington Convention Center 2 full floors of exhibits from defense contractors, and then some terrific meetings with the senior leadership of the U.S. Army. Tell us a little bit what you have planned next week at the 2021 meeting.
Yeah, Ken, as many of your listeners probably know, last year we had to do the annual meeting virtually, so we're very excited to be back at the Washington Convention Center again this year. We've made some changes, of course, to account for COVID mitigation, but we're expecting a great turnout. Actually, we were talking this morning, we actually have more exhibitors this year than in 2019. At our last in-person event, we've over 650 exhibitors, companies, universities, industry, government. It is a fascinating group. We'll have upwards of 20,000 attendees over the 3 days that will be there. We'll hear speakers from across the Army leadership, including the new Secretary of the Army, Christine Wormuth.
Well, that's terrific. You have great leaders from the Army there. Tell us a little bit about the new Secretary of the Army. I understand she came from the RAND Corporation, had worked also for the Undersecretary of Defense. Tell us a little bit about Christine Wormuth.
She is a very accomplished leader, Ken, and we're glad to have her as our secretary. She did come from RAND Corporation, but she's had long service in the Department of Defense at various levels. I think she started her career as an intern, and her most senior position was the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy a few years ago in the Obama administration. That's actually the third ranking defense official in the Department of Defense. So she is an expert in all elements of defense strategy and policy, and she will be a terrific representative for the Army.
Absolutely, and you have some terrific seminars during the course of the week for different groups within the Army, from ROTC cadets to soldiers transitioning out for efforts to support military families. What will be some of the key topics that you'll be talking about next week down in Washington at your annual meeting?
Yeah, you're right, Ken. This event over the 3 days covers the entire spectrum of the U.S. Army, active, guard, and reserve, modernization, manpower, operations, training. It'll all be covered during the annual meeting. As many of your listeners know, there is a massive effort underway in the Army to modernize our equipment, much of which goes back to my cadet days in the 70s and the 1980s. And that equipment is now aging and needs to be replaced. So the Army's modernization effort will be a key focus this year. Also, General McConville, the Army Chief of Staff, has put extra emphasis on people. So his People First initiative will also be at the forefront.
Well, you mentioned modernization. I had a chance to sit in on the session last time with General McConville and Ryan McCarthy, and they talked about over 30 points on modernization. And a couple of them are things like the long-range precision fires, the long-range artillery, and a new type of helicopter. They call it a heavy lifting craft. Tell us a little bit about some of the key equipment needs of the Army in modernization.
That's right, Ken. You're talking about some of the key ones there, long-range precision fires, much of which has been aging, but now on the modern battlefield, we're looking for longer range, more precision, able to work with the other military services, the Navy and the Air Force, in a joint and integrated manner, and that's a big part of that initiative. You mentioned future vertical lift, a new version of aircraft. I wouldn't call them helicopters. Some look like helicopters, but they're far more advanced, replacing the aging Black Hawk and Apache helicopters. They'll be coming forward. Missile defense is a major Army mission area that supports all of our military services, and that's another one that will be showcased next week.
Absolutely. Also, that's great because my father worked on missile defense in the mid-1950s as an Army officer in Maryland when Nike was a missile before it became a shoe. Hey, one other thing, we've had a chance to talk a little bit about cyber defense. We've been to the cyber defense exercises at West Point. They're building a new cyber engineering center at West Point, and space is becoming a part for all the military. What are some of the areas there that are key development needs?
Yeah, well, as you know, space supports everybody in the Department of Defense. Frankly, it supports all of us with GPS and other forms of communication. The Army has a key role in space, both on orbit, much of which is shifting over to the Space Force, but a lot of the terrestrial or ground stations are manned and operated by the U.S. Army, so the other parts of the Department of Defense rely on us in that regard as well.
Hey, you got to mention retiring from your organization, your current CEO, General Carter Ham, after 5 years service. Tell us a little bit about the contributions of General Carter Ham.
Yeah, General Ham served with us since July of 2016, replacing General Gordon Sullivan as our president. And he has revived a number of things in the association. The relationship among the regular Army, the Army National Guard, and Army Reserve is as strong as it's ever been. Internally, he has strengthened our business processes within in-house to run the association. And on Capitol Hill, he's been the key voice, key face of the association on Capitol Hill for the last 5 years. He was just replaced on the 1st of October by General Bob Brown, class of 1981, who is our new president, and he'll be the face at the annual meeting next week. Bob retired a couple of years ago as our commander in the Pacific, the USARPAC commander, and we're thrilled to have him on board.
Hey, and talking with Lieutenant General Guy Swan, who is the Vice President of the Association of the U.S. Army, former Commanding General of the U.S. 5th Army, West Point graduate. Joe, we're going to give you a minute to talk Army football. I know you're a huge fan. We see you up at the games, and Army's off to a 4-1 start. What are your thoughts on the season?
I'm optimistic, put it that way, Ken. They are off to a great start, had a rough weekend at Ball State, but that's going to be a learning experience. Knowing Coach Monken, as many of your listeners do, he's going to take that as a learning opportunity to get us ready in 2 weeks for the University of Wisconsin. That's going to be the big test this year. The other service academies look good, and I'm concerned. The Air Force Academy looks very strong. Navy broke out of their losing streak over the weekend. There's going to be a real fight for the Commander-in-Chief's trophy.
Yeah, a couple of big games coming up at Leakey Stadium. They're going to host Wake Forest, who's going to come in as a top 25 team. And then that game down against Air Force in Arlington, Texas in November is going to be a big day. And Lieutenant General Guy Swan, just tell our audience again how they can follow your conference next week for the Association of the U.S. Army.
Right, Ken. It's very simple. Just go to ausa.org, ausa.org. On the front page of the website, we'll give you all the information on how to register. and participate in the convention next week.
Yeah, I know a lot of sessions will be online. Lieutenant General Guy Swan, thank you for joining us, and thank you for your service to our country over your 40-year career.
Thank you, Ken, and we'll see you at Mikey Stadium. Beat Navy.
Look forward to it.
You've been listening to the Sons of the American Legion Radio Report on WVOX 846 and around the world on WVOX.com. We thank today's special guest, Lieutenant General Guy Swan of the Association of US Army, West Point alum. You can check out our Facebook pages, Sons of the American Legion Radio, West Point Football Report, our Sea Services page, and our Iona Basketball Report page. And until next week, remember to thank a veteran.